So why do you take Kelly out? And why do you take?
Meeting will come to order, please.
It's not a good enough answer. You're fired.
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. Would you please turn off electronic equipment as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you call the roll, please?
Yeah. Mayor Becker,
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
I am here.
Next on the agenda, Lisa, is a presentation.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mayor. As you know, a few weeks ago, we held our annual health fair, and every year we try to spotlight something going on, locally or nationally in order to raise awareness. And this year's theme of the health fair was mental health awareness. So I had invited the members of NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, to attend. And as you know, we always hold a raffle for employees to bid on items, and the proceeds of the raffle we donate to a local charity. So, and to go in with the theme and to show our support, we opted, the Wellness Committee, or Health Fair Committee, opted to donate the proceeds of the raffle, a total of $314. I wish it was more, but it's something, to help support NAMI. And just to give you a basic understanding, as I said, it's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And it's an organization, I'm not sure how long ago it was funded, but it's a tremendous organization that, helps the millions of Americans who suffer with mental illness, as well as provide support for the family members of those who are diagnosed and undiagnosed with some type of mental illness. As you know, a few weeks ago, it was the knockout opioid event, and Margate is in full support of the opioid crisis. And I felt that this goes hand in hand with mental illness, because unfortunately a lot of those individuals who suffer with mental illness also struggle with some type of addiction because they try to self-medicate. So I think it's important as a community, especially Margate, and we've all been involved with this, and I'm sure that as you read the newspaper every day, unfortunately, there's someone else who loses their struggle, due to this illness. So it's important that we try to help support NAMI, and there's other organizations that are out there to break the stigma of mental health, because we're all affected by it. And it's just that we need to raise this awareness and acknowledge it. It's just as important as cancer or heart disease. And it's very prevalent. So I've asked Francine Bates and Gail Dembin if you would like to come up. I just want to present this on behalf of our Down Beach community, Margate, Ventnor, and Longport. We have one of our Health Fair Committee members from Longport, Jenna, here with me as well. I'm sorry, unfortunately, nobody from Ventnor was able to attend. But I'm happy to present this to you, and I thank you for all that you do. Thank you. And I commend you.
So I say we're totally volunteer, so every penny counts. So this is a lot of money to us. Thank you.
Thank you for your good work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you,
Jenna.
Lisa, thank you. There being no items for discussion, we will begin with department head reports. Lisa, why don't you begin, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. First, I sent out an email to the mayor, commissioners, and Rich the other day. It's time for the annual best practices inventory. I think I did that last year too. Best practices inventory.
Makes, no, fresh practice.
Okay, all right, no further comment on that. So, it has to be submitted by a week from Monday, so, I sent a draft to Rich. I'll be meeting with him next week, I hope. We're closed Tuesday, so hopefully Wednesday. And I'm confident that we'll be able to score high enough that we receive our full state funding from, which comes, in our portion is the energy receipts tax, which is just under $800,000. So that's one thing that I'm working on. In addition to that, our annual contract with our ambulance billing service is up for renewal. I did receive their proposal today. For the last several years, it's been 6.5% of our collections, and they're proposing to remain at 6.5% for their fee. I also asked if they have a recommendation as to whether or not we ought to increase the transport fee. And they did make a recommendation. We currently charge $750 for each transport, and they're recommending to increase the base charge to $775 plus $85 for mileage, which would remain the same as in prior years. Now, keep in mind that since this program was implemented about 2005, I believe, we do not charge any uninsured residents. There are no out-of-pocket costs if you want to call and you are in need of an ambulance. So I just want to stress that to all of our residents. Please do not, stop. Nothing should prevent you from calling for an ambulance if you're in need, and because you're thinking that you're going to have to pay for it. If you are a resident of Margate, then you are not billed for any out-of-pocket costs. We only recover what insurance allows for. So if you're in agreement, I'd like to have this on for the next agenda, that we renew with DM Medical Service. They provide excellent service. I never have had a problem. They're very efficient. And just so you know, last year, our annual revenue for 2017, it was just over $218,000. And as of September 30th, we've had approximately 562 transports that we've billed for, give or take a few. And so far, we have just over $140,000 in revenue. That's all I have. So is that okay for the next agenda? Would you like to discuss it further?
I personally think it's good for the next agenda to renew with that company. I do have a question relative to the increased fees. Doing a quick calculation, if you had 500 transports and billings and $140,000, you're not getting anywhere close to $700 because insurance companies pay
Yes.
various amounts, correct?
Yes.
Which means we're not billing. Now, are there insurance companies that will reimburse more than $750? It makes no sense to raise it if you're not gonna get any money anyhow. So I think we should, before we just raise it and create more confusion, we should understand whether has a practical effect or not, even though we have the recommendation. So it would be something that I would like you to work with Dan on and then just get back to me on. I'd like to know what, as part of that, what Medicare reimburses. So, anyway, I think I made myself clear.
I agree with you.
Okay, and also started gathering the information for the budget. 2 departments have submitted it already. I sent out another email yesterday, so I asked the mayor and commissioners if there's any projects or anything outside of the ordinary that you would like to have appropriated in the 2019 budget. Please submit that to me. I'm also going to be working on the salary budget, which will take a little bit of time. And let me see what else. Oh, listen, I just want to point out, and I'm sure Chief Wolfson has probably made you aware, but on December 1st, Patricia Parrish, she's a dispatcher with the Margate Police Department for 38 years. She's retiring December 1st. So I thought it would be nice if there was some type of acknowledgement on her behalf. That's up to you, but I just wanted to make you aware a month from now. She's finally decided to leave us. So I wish her well. And lastly, I just want to bring attention to Dan Adams, who was a guest with our building department office manager, Palma Cardi. As you know, she has a weekly show with Dan Skeldon up at the Irish Pub to talk about coastal flooding issues. Dan was the guest. I happened to watch a portion of it, and I thought they both did an excellent job and did the city proud. So thank you, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Lisa. Rich?
Lisa mentioned she's working on the salary portion of the budget for next year, but I want to remind the governing body that we did have a lot of negotiation last year for multi-year contracts, so we're in good shape with the major unions through 2019. So all of those decisions have been made. There will be, I'm working on the salary ordinance, which is really the 18-19 salary ordinance. We did one actually last November, and we'll do one this year, which just confirms all of the salaries that, for decisions that you've already made, because people being paid in 18, all those amounts. So I'll have a draft to Lisa the next day or two, and then she's gonna check it, and then we'll have it in front of you on November 15th. But again, this is not any changes in salaries as it relates to employees. That are all, virtually all of our employees are under contract at this particular point in time.
Anything else, Rich?
Yes, although I don't have any detail on it, but I received an email from somebody that indicated that Frank was nominated for a major award.
Yes, he was.
and
The
so
national.
Anybody that knows about it, I think we should acknowledge Frank, and I'm acknowledging him without knowing what the award is, but because nobody told me what it was.
It
But
was from the American Public Works Association.
Speak into that microphone, please, sir.
It was for leadership in public works. I got Leadership of the Year award from the state of New Jersey.
Congratulations, Frank.
And that is a national award.
Yeah.
That's all 50 states. So that's pretty significant. Congratulations, Frank.
Thank you.
To put this into perspective, very proud of being in Public Works, very proud to work with Frank, and I'm especially proud that every year I get to go to the municipalities convention to see Frank getting an award. He gets an award every single year. Good work, Frank.
Thank you.
Margate Grown.
Roger.
Thank you, Mayor. There is a bike rack meeting tomorrow afternoon at Atlantic County offices. Hopefully, we're still on track to get those in by next summer.
Yeah, there's a submission, 60% submission for tomorrow. We're in excess of 60%, so I'll be attending the meeting also.
Good.
Good. Anything else, Roger?
Just very, very busy, but it's good for Margate.
Just
Thank you.
one other thing that I didn't report at the last meeting, I did meet with the hazard mitigation people, and what we're looking for is funding. We're gonna see if we can fund additional floodproofing of the rear garage of the firehouse, where all our electrical equipment is, and they were very receptive to that. They also have put us in contact with some people to look for funding for new check valves, although we're not optimistic on that. We're gonna talk to them and see what that brings. So, but they were very, very positive in looking to help us, to give us money.
It's always a good thing. Frank?
This week we flushed fire hydrants. We will be done by the end of this week. On the Parkway, the fountains finally got covered. I think they came out great, and it's a good thing that we do every year now. It might cost us a couple $1,000, but every time we take them off now, they're brand new. So I think it's a very good thing. We're working we got the list together for the city equipment auction. which is gonna be coming out real soon. Fred set the dates. All the information is all collected, and we're gonna move ahead with that. Lucy the Elephant, the decking is coming out unbelievably nice. We're actually at the point where we're working out of the snack bar onto the deck itself. We're gonna redo that whole deck. It's all gonna have all new railing, and we also are gonna put all new lighting on the deck, modern LED lighting. And we just finished up in Public Works. We got the contracts ready for video, our sewer lines, the landscaping contract and janitorial. We sent it over to Roger. Roger's going to get it all together. Put out bid.
Frank,
That's all I have.
I need to touch base with you on janitorial before that gets finalized.
Yeah,
I got a question on that.
sure.
Okay. Thank you, Frank.
You're welcome.
Scott?
Is this working now? Yeah, the rest.
It's always working.
Are we on?
It's always working.
Okay, just, I think, Mayor, it'd be appropriate to discuss ordinance number 25-2018 so that the public is made aware of what this ordinance is about. It's captioned an ordinance providing for the vacation of a portion of Amherst Avenue, subject to compliance with conditions by adjoining property owner. The public may or may not be aware, and if not, they'll be aware now, that the Lamberti's restaurant in Sunset Marina leases the 231-foot-long by 30-foot wide section of property. The lease has been in effect since the late 1980s, and they still have, I believe it's 18 years left from that lease. Part of the lease obligation is to maintain the bulkhead there, 231 feet. We have been in negotiations, the city administrator, Rich Feeney, Commissioner Amadeo, I know Roger McClernand's had a hand in this, as has Eddie's office, where we were trying to find ways to replace not only the bulkhead where Lamberti's is, but also additional bulkhead. I guess the public's aware we have about 1,250 feet of bulkhead located along Amherst Avenue, and many of the sections, it's in poor condition, must be replaced, and it's low. So what we've come to a tentative understanding with the owner of, I'll call it Sunset Marina and Lamberti's, is that we would vacate the area that's currently leased, and that area is occupied by the restaurant and marina facility structure, and have him build 588 feet of bulkhead. That would mean 357 feet of bulkhead. Now the responsibility of the city would be his responsibility. That's why it's captioned conditions by adjoining property owner. Well, one of the conditions is that the adjoining property owner picks up the cost and the expense of building at 550, it's 588 feet total, 357 feet additional. And he has an existing parking lot, private parking lot. We will have the right to park up to 24 public parking spaces. In other words, we'll be opening up, creating some additional parking available for public use in our waterfront special district. So that's the purpose of the ordinance. It's being introduced tonight. I'm sure members of the public will question it or want to know what this is all about, or what we're dealing with a situation where we've had a long time lease tenant at $500 a year. Instead, now we would vacate that portion of Amherst Avenue so that title to just where the structure is will become owned by the adjoining owner, and in return he will pay for all that bulkhead, 588 feet, plus provide public parking for 24 spaces in the existing parking lot that currently is private. That is the gist of it, and I think if you deem to fit to introduce that ordinance, I'm sure there'll be some public discussion on it. Through the chair, may I comment?
You bet.
Thank you, Mayor. For the public also to know, the value of that replacement of that roughly 588 foot of bulkhead could amount to as much as $800,000, which would be sort of, it would be a gift to the city to accomplish, doing away with a bulkhead that has existed since the 1920s, I imagine.
Built in 1928.
The structure is
Margate.
in almost failure condition, so it would be a tremendous benefit to the city. It also brings us into resiliency at the new elevation, and it also will add
to the aesthetics of that whole area, which was recommended in the recent master plan to create a promenade along that whole cartway along Amherst Avenue to the extent that in areas it'll be 8 to 10 foot wide. So I think it's a definite benefit to the public and to the city to engage in this, into this proposal and move forward. It'll give us the options to get the promenade started sooner than what we had originally anticipated over a 10-year period. It would take us to complete it. It will give us, it'll free up money that we'll be able to do those improvements and really make our bayfront really pristine as it is now, the views, and with the updates of all the marinas coming, which what I would have called the deplorable area over the past several years with buildings falling into the bay and being condemned. We're modernizing that area without claiming it needed in redevelopment. So I think it's really a good thing for the city. Once again, thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thanks, Scott. Do you have anything else?
No, that's all I have for tonight. Mayor, thank you.
May I add on to that? I just want to report that, okay, that the planning board granted a 1-year extension for Mr. Lamberti on his site for the improvements.
Oh, good. That was important to get that done.
Anything else, Reggie? Did I? Okay, cool. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick things. One, during our quick storm and moderate flooding event over the weekend, the fire department did have a few increased responses to the area, all weather related, of course. A couple people needed assistance with evacuation and a couple other minor electrical issues, which I remind anyone who lives in a flood prone area that please check your stuff, check your areas, make sure that your electric, if it was exposed to the water, has been properly checked and inspected. We did have 2 minor related incidents with a business locally that happened because of that, and it's already been followed up with our building department. And 2, I just want to make a quick announcement on an event coming up on November 24th. The Margate Longport and Ventnor PBA has run the annual Fill the Cruiser event. Stuff the Trunk, Fill the Cruiser event for unwrapped toys for local children in Atlantic County in need. I'm happy to say that the Ventnor and Margate fire departments, the FMBAs in both towns, have also joined in on this effort to make this even a bigger and better event. So we look for a lot more things to come from that event. Again, it's going to be on November 24th. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, starts at 6 p.m. at the Margate ball field. So please, do your best, come out and support it. I've been out there the last couple of years. Really great event and really good to see all the people enjoying a great night, in Margate. So thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dan. Johanna?
I have nothing to report.
Fred? Did I wake you?
Yeah, he did actually. Now, one of the things that Frank normally reports on that I failed to give him information on was the water meter readings. Sorry. But his guys did a great job this year going out and reading all the meters for us. We came in again at a 90% read rate, which is outstanding for the town. They have 2 guys that go around and walk the whole city and read the meters. So one of the things he normally does is report on it when I give him the information. I failed to do that, so I apologize for that. But our meters are read, and now they're working on any excess bills that'll need to be sent out.
Anything else, Fred?
That's it.
All right, thank you, Fred. Marty?
I'd like
Scott?
to add one thing. I know we had asked about our NIFIT grant application for dredging. And Jim Rotella filled me in. He said they have not made a decision yet, but it's supposed to come out this November. So there is some movement. Hopefully, maybe we'll get that grant.
That would
New
be
governor,
nice.
he might like us.
That'd be nice. Marty?
Yes, Mike, I have one thing. I want to publicly thank Lisa and her team and all the departments that participated in the health fair. All the vendors that participated. I know it's a huge effort to get that thing coordinated and organized, but I think it's a great thing for our towns and our employees. And it was very, very well attended, and everybody that came, I think, walked away with if not a flu shot, some great information. So thank you, Lisa.
Anything else, Maury?
That's it.
Thank you. John?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. And again, I'll reiterate Maury's comments. It's a benefit to our employees. The health fair, getting everybody together is a lot of work. It's instrumental in the fact that it keeps the three communities together. And I just got to applaud everybody that's involved. They did a great job once again. I know Frank's already been mentioned, but I'm going to congratulate you again, Frank. Outstanding. It's a pleasure to have you on the team. Every time we ask you for something, there's never a question. It just gets done. A lot of times I say get to it in the next few days, and I know an hour later it's already completed. And lastly, last night being Halloween, it was thankfully in Margate an uneventful night. A lot of kids out on the street. I witnessed myself in the neighborhood, the 2 bike patrols that were our police officers on bike. I know our fire department handed out candy because I signed a requisition on the $20 of candy you bought. So I hope you had a good turnout. But it was a good night last night, and seeing the police presence on their bikes is just a great part of community policing. So again, I want to thank the police department for that. And Mayor, that's all I have to comment on.
Thank you. Frank, I thank Frank every day, so I'm going to pass today, okay? I really do. He makes my life so easy. He makes the lives of the people in Margate very easy. Frank, I'll be at the breakfast, Frank. You know that, okay? As I'm sitting here today, you know, I'm listening to everything, and, you know, it's kind of nice. I think we should all be very proud of all the good things that are happening here, the things that we never hear. You don't read it in the newspaper, that, you know, all these good things and all that. But we are all very, very lucky to be here, and thank you all for being here, part of Margate, and thank all our employees and everybody. But I did have one problem over the weekend during the flood, and I had a phone call, and you have to understand I was at a funeral. Okay, so this whole thing's never good. There's a man called, he had a complaint. He can't get to the public yard to get sandbags because of the flood. I said, okay, so what can I tell you? All right, with that, we'll open for public comment, 3 minutes on anything that was discussed here today.
Telepathy. Sewell 22 West Drive. Mayor, you can read lots of nice, good news on the Down Beach Buzz, but you've got to get on that computer, Mayor. Can't stay BC for the rest of your life. If you want to be before computers, you got to find the good news. Read the Down Beach Buzz. You'll get an ample supply of it, I assure you. However, following up on the solicitor's remarks concerning dredging, and the grant, this nebulous grant that we keep hearing about. Well, I would strongly urge the mayor and both commissioners to have a plan B in place in the event that this grant doesn't materialize. And I have offered the suggestion time and time again, and I'll offer it again today. You know, it's great. If you want to do multi-million-dollar projects, find some funding. Find some way that you don't go into bonded indebtedness and have your grandchildren saddled with this cost. And I have said that there are tens of millions of dollars sitting out at the Thai school and the rec fields across the street there, which are just, you know, would not only cover the Back Bay dredging, but would also cover the proposed boardwalk along Ventnor. So think of a plan B and begin to work towards it. I think it's essential, not simply to say, the knee-jerk reaction, oh, we'll just bond it. That's not the way to go. That's not the way to run cost-efficient government. So I strongly urge you to begin to study that plan B. And that plan B will be beneficial not only for dredging and proposed boardwalk, but it'll be beneficial for the inevitable consolidation of the schools in Margate. The longer you put it off, the more you expose Margate to enormous costs. So I strongly urge you to get this Plan B cooking right away. Because if you don't, Gary Stein will show you exactly how to lose what we have paid for. We're still paying for the Ross bonds. And I say, hey, let's retire those bonds. And it can be done with a little imaginative financing. So be fiscally responsible, be fiscally prudent, and avoid bond indebtedness as though it were the plague, because going forward it might very well be. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Time's up, John.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Good night, John.
John, he didn't leave.
You wish you could have stayed for the fire department.
Any other public comment? Is there a motion to adjourn, close public comment?
I'll move to close public
I'll
comment.
second that.
Mayor Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Yes,
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker.
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Yes.